So, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to quickly review, take a look of what happened to gold after our analysis last Sunday. That was analysis we carried out on the 19th of April, 2026. So, we want to check out what happened so far from that analysis. Were we right? Were we correct? And also, we also going to take a look at the reviews we did within the midweek. All right, until what played out until Friday. So let's go straight into the chart without wasting time in order for us to go and do that right away. All right, so as you can see by seeing the chart, this is gold. It was only gold that we actually analyzed. All right, we analyzed gold as the only pair we focused on because that is what I trade. I trade one pair. And if you want to doubt opportunities you can see for trading one pair, when you master it like back of your hand, you come and ask me. I will show you, because this week the trades were just plenty. Even though I was trading with 0.01 loss size, but if you calculate the value of of everything, it's about $850. $850. Okay, that is from the value of all the trade that was entered. You will be seeing. All right, so let's go straight. The week started here. You see, the market closed here. That's the previous week. All right, the market closed here. All right, and we will analyze the market, and you can see this this trend line, this green line. It's a trend line that I put that day. So when you go to in fact, the live video, the live analysis is still on my YouTube page in my live session. You can go there and watch it. It is Sunday, 19th of April, 2026. So you will see it is about 1 hour, 15 minutes long, because I was explaining how I did everything, how I mark out my zone, explaining what it means, the reason why I did that and all that. That's why it took a long time. So it's more like a teaching session, all right, while we were analyzing. And that's why it took that time. But look at what we said. We talked about the fact when the market opened, look at this zone. We talked about this zone here, that if the market come to this place and show us a turning pattern, we take a trade. And I say don't take a trade at that point except you see a turning pattern, because we are waiting for this zone, and we're also waiting for this zone, the zone eventually where the market came to, which is where this particular zone. That's where the market eventually came to buy. We're expecting a buy here in the first zone and so in the second zone, but I say don't put a pending order here. Use what? A turning pattern. That's what I use to determine. All right. So where did the market buy? It buy the second zone. So correct. The market bought there. This trend line, one of the scenario we painted is that when the market breaks this trend line, break below it and retest it. Remember, market was still at this point. This point when we analyzing, market has closed. All right, because that was on Sunday. Market already closed since Friday. All right. If there is a break below the trend line, and we said that if the market retests the trend line and turns, and you can see the turning he did here. This, you see, he retests it here, all these were turning even within this 15-minute time frame. All right, because the turn I want you to take a look at is always where in 1 minute time frame, like I always tell you. All right, now why did the market come up to this point? All right, test this one, test this one, test it here, and came testing it here. This is the point where eventually closed the gap that was created, because when the market opened, it opened with a gap. Do you understand? Look at the gap, big gap he opened, right, to start here and then come down here, and he had to come back because it had broken below the trend line. I say if you break below it and test it and turns, we are going to start selling. But what happened? He kept coming until he was able to close the gap, not able to break above it again, because he needed to retest it. But the gap, the market, since there was a change of character after the gap occurred to the upside, the market will keep going until he closes the gap. All right, but he couldn't do it by breaking a bit above the trend line back, but rather he started creating a turning pattern within the 15-minute time frame until he was able to close it, to hit it at the point where he closed the gap. That is when market began to sell, and that is exactly what I told you. And what did he do? He keeps selling. Did you see that? The market keeps selling. Did you see that? Until he keeps selling and selling and selling. All right, until it gets to this point. All right. But what happened to this point? You can see different marks of trade that I took. I took several trades here, like I told you from the beginning. There's no point talking about that. But just to tell you how the analysis works, my analysis, once I analyze, and that's why you have to join me. You have to do your best to always join me live, so that you at least you will learn how I do it. It might be that the first time you join me, you might not be able to take a trade because you're still not skeptical. But when the trade plays out many times, and then you'll be able to study my chart and understand the scenario, because I paint many scenarios, not just two, not just three, but different things that can happen that will help you to take advantage, all right, of taking your trade. All right. So there again, we review the market here. The market was here when we reviewed it on Friday. All right, look at it. Look at again what happened that Friday. One of the scenarios I painted. Remember, after we reviewed the market, we are trying to analyze further, but we didn't have the time to analyze further. You know why? Because our network was breaking. In fact, the network was bad. Internet data, it was bad. The network was not okay. So we have to even stop the live analysis. Remember, all this video, you can go to my YouTube and find them in the live session where you see several live that I've done, and you see that my analysis always comes true. Even some that are boring when I started learning how to do live, you know, I couldn't get a lot of things right. All right. But when you're able to watch it and see what I said, you discover that everything came to play out exactly the way I said them. And that's what's happening to this particular analysis now. All right. So here on Friday, around this zone, you will now discover that what happened was that I talked about the market. All right, let's get to the point. That's around the market was around here. All right, around here. So I talked about that to make a sell, to try a sell, carry out a sell, that the market will do a break of structure or change of character to the downside. And if you come back to retest the other block that caused it, the zone that actually caused it, and you go out and watch out for a turning pattern in 1 minute time frame. I've created video on this when this eventually happened to show you the turning pattern, how it works. So just go. This is not, that one was not like that, was a review, but I created video to show the turning pattern here. So you just go to my videos to be able to find them, find it and watch it. All right. So I'm not going to demonstrate that again here, but here the point I want to make is that the market actually come back after creating a change of character to the downside or break of structure, depending how you read it. Because I wrote it the way I read it in another video. You can see how I read it, why I still read it now as a break. I mean, a change of character to the downside instead of a break of structure to the downside. But whether you call it break of structure or change of character, the point is that after revisiting the point, you should be taking a sell using a turning pattern in 1 minute time frame. And what happened after I came here? What happened? He went on selling, and incidentally, I said it that the market is going to come to this zone, and that is exactly where it came to. When you watch the video review that I make, you now understand, because here, this is where the market stopped when I was making the analysis on Wednesday after the review of what has happened since on Sunday analysis. I said that at point I said you can take your profit here, and when I took part 2, I said you can take a profit here or take your profit here. All right. This is the last point I made, the point that you should take your profit. And that is the last point that the market get to, and the markets begin to buy again after selling to that point. So you see, everything I talked about during my analysis worked the way exactly I said them that they were going to happen. But the analysis is always, if this happened, this is what is going to happen. If that happened, that is what's going to happen. It is always direct what will happen, not maybe. I'll tell you, if this eventually happens, because you need to first of all see the scenario that you play. When the scenario is playing, know that so thing is going to actually become the outcome. That is how I give you my analysis, and it's always top notch that way. All right, guys.